Every one of my records means something. The label, the producer, the year it was made.
Make sure you have the record player on at night.
So it's record. Welcome to Record Night. We have a guest on this week's show. So before we get into the record that he brought in the band, it's Pat St.John. So I don't know. I know Pat from his brother Matt, who I've known since. Well, we all know Matt. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Were you friends with Matt St. John back in the day, or would you not put it that way?
Me? I mean, yeah, sure. We were. I mean, we didn't have many classes together. Besides, like, he was in a lot of my grade school classes. I mean, we sat together for 6 years at the lunch table, like, straight. So I think
I forgot. About that, yeah.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course, he's my friend.
Well, what's funny is that we sat at the lunch table together every day. But then but Matt Mason didn't know Alex Williams' name. He had sat with him all year, and he goes, I don't know. It was really late into the school year, and I don't know what he was mad about. He was mad at you, I think, for yelling. He's like, "Oh God, come on, Nathan, or whatever your name is." And it's like, how do you not know his name? His name is Alex. What the hell's the matter with you?
I forgot about that. Come on, Nathan.
Yeah. But anyway, I figured we'd introduce Pat first. So, Pat's an interesting guest in terms of you're in school for. What are you studying exactly?
It's recording arts and technology. So, it's all aspects of studio recording, live sound engineering, and pretty much anything in between. Studio maintenance, pretty much anything in between. Anything that has to do with recording or technology that comes with recording. So, yeah, like I spend, before the pandemic, I spent most of my days in a studio, like 5 days a week, and it was great, and I miss it.
So, was this always what you wanted to do, or was it a more recent thing that you got into?
I feel like it is something I always wanted to do, but I didn't realize that it's something I could do until like last year. So I just started going. Last year was my first semester in this program. And like I feel like I always want to do something in music, because like I just love music, and especially live music. I love, and I didn't realize that it's something I could do as like a career until recently, and then I kind of stumbled upon this program at Tri-C, and then it's like great. It's like the best decision I ever made.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun. A lot of great people and great experience. Make a lot of connections.
Yeah, for sure. You've described a few of them, I feel like, already.
Yeah.
So what's funny, like when we did a few videos, like the origin of Record Night, and then kind of introductions to different members here on the pod, Joe and Jake. And one of the interesting things is, like, when I try to think back of like how I got into music in the first place, I can't really remember. I mean, so has it just always, I mean, you can approach it any way you want, just some of your favorite artists, if you remember how it started for you. Like,
yeah, like I remember growing up always listening to music in the car with my dad. That was like how I really fell in love with music. Mostly classic rock, but he always listened to Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd.
Nice.
Always, like, Talking Heads was a big one. Always
Talking Heads,
in the car.
wow.
Well, because we will always go on road trips in the summer, because we'd go and see baseball games everywhere, and we'd always listen to music in the car. So that's really how I fell in love with music. And then, like, I remember the first album I ever bought was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
Nice.
It's
a good one.
The first album I ever bought, I was probably like, I was pretty young. That album came out like 2001, 2000.
Yeah, 2001, 2002.
So I was like 5 or 6 probably when I bought that album.
Is that like In the End? And
yeah.
That, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best one.
Yeah, I think so. It is their best album. But yeah, like I remember buying that album on CD. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I absolutely loved that album. That, and I love the Backstreet Boys. That was my favorite. My mom always made fun of me for it.
Everyone, yeah.
But yeah,
I went through that phase too.
But that was the early 2000s. But yeah, and then it's just I just always had such a fondness for music, and like, you know, growing up I loved like those early 2000 bands. Like I loved Green Day, and My Chemical Romance was a big one. All those bands that were popular back then. But I always loved like classic rock, and then as I got older, I got more into different genres, and just grew from there. And now I know all these bands, and
Because I remember like going to your house, like you guys always had a bunch of CDs
Yeah.
and like a lot of music just like
Mhm.
laying
Oh,
around.
yeah.
Like I would just always look through like what you guys had.
It's
Like,
just
wow,
it's always been because like my dad's probably been like 300 concerts in his life. He tells us stories about it all the time. So like music's always, I guess it's weird to like think about like music not being a big part of my life because it always was for all of us. I mean, Matt's real into he's real into Bruce and all of them. So it's just it's always been a big part of like all of our family's lives. So
Yeah.
It's just something I've always loved.
So I feel like I don't know if either of you gave me a solid answer because it's hard to pick just one. Do you have like a favorite artist?
Favorite artist? It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to pick one because it's so many different styles.
Because like Radiohead is definitely one of my like all-time favorites, just because of the way like creatively they're just so incredible, and everything they've done is just so different from the last thing, and it's just like I don't know, their music has just always just been so great to me. And then there are bands I love, like 21 Pilots is one of my favorite bands because like I watched that. I remember when I found out about them, they were playing in front of like 100 people, and they're like the biggest band in the world.
I saw them too down at Columbus.
Yeah.
It was like
it's like they're always one of my
50 people
favorite.
or something,
They're always one of my
50
favorite bands because it's like I saw them grow from this small band to like the biggest band in the world. So
now, are they from around here?
Columbus.
Okay, because I feel like a lot of people had that story where they saw them play in front of nobody.
Because they're huge in Ohio before they were big anywhere else. Like they're playing in front of like 20,000 people in Columbus and going out any other state and playing in front of like 200 people.
When I saw them, they moved the venue because they were having so much interest.
Yeah.
They emailed me and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna move it to this bigger the nationwide, not the nationwide arena, the one by the Clippers Stadium."
Yeah, it's Express Live.
Yeah, that Express
they changed
Live.
the name, I think, but
we're gonna move it from there to there because there's just so much people buying tickets.
That's
I'm like, okay.
Tenacious D. I went down to Columbus and went
to
Express Live.
Columbus is great for concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
They have so many
good
venues.
I've seen a lot of shows. I saw Radiohead in Columbus.
Nice.
Well, let's just use it to segue into the record then. Radiohead. Okay, well, so what we're going to listen to tonight is In Rainbows.
Okay.
This is from 2007. But Radiohead obviously has kind of a long career before this. So what's their just some Radiohead history? When did they start? Like early 90s?
Yeah. Their first album came out in 92.
Oh, wow.
I believe, yeah.
Good year.
Yeah. but yeah, they kind of, because they started out, they're kind of, I don't call them generic, but they sound of the time, like that early to mid 90s, not grunge, but like just alternative rock, I guess. And then OK Computer came out, and that was a big deal, and that kind of changed their track. And then after that, Kid A came out, and it was that one was really experimental. They moved more towards electronic music in that album, and it was interesting because there's such a left turn, because OK Computer is so critically well received as this fantastic, influential album. And then Kid A, they just went a complete left turn. And it's interesting because they were willing to take that risk, because they could have just made an album just like OK Computer and sold, millions and millions of records, but they took a risk. And that's what I appreciate about them as a band, is that they're not afraid to take risks. They always do what they think is best.
There's a few of my favorite artists that are my favorite artists for that exact reason, that it's like St. Paul and the Broken Bones had a really good first record that was critically well received, but then they kind of they could have, like you mentioned, they could have made 10 records like that.
Yeah.
They would have all sold well and whatever.
Yeah.
But again, if it's not creatively interesting to them to do that, then it's not,
Yeah. And then this album is really interesting because it was the first major album to ever be released as a Pay What You Want.
Oh yeah.
This was after. So Hail of the Thief was the album before this. It was their last album on their record deal. So they went independent. They released this album. They're ahead of the curve on how music was going to be consumed, because the music industry then was very resistant to change. They thought it was going to be physical media forever. Yeah. That's just what they thought back then. That's I've had a lot of discussions with music industry people about this, and it's and they were very stubborn. They were like, it's always going to be this way. That's why they were so afraid of Napster in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah,
Napster.
because it went against what they knew. They didn't want things to change, and they were one of the bands that are kind of ahead of the curve on that. I feel like they knew that music was going to be streamed, it was going to be available online, and that was really before like iTunes was a big deal. iTunes was around, but it wasn't like it was like a couple years later when iTunes got huge and everyone was buying albums on iTunes. I remember that. But yeah, it's so it's interesting because I feel like it's kind of an important album in that regard. Just in the whole general, music history. It's just they were willing to take that risk, and I think it definitely, and then however many years later, this is what everybody does now is release music this way.
Now, is there any kind of idea of how did most people download it for free? Did people do you know, did they make money off of it?
I don't know how much money they made off of it. I don't know the exact things, but I've seen like stories of people from when that, because like reading news articles from when it came out, like people would just pay, whatever you want. Some people paid $10 for it. Some people paid $1 for it.
Yeah.
It was more about getting their record out there instead of.
Yeah. I can imagine. I thought of Jeff like, what? Pay whatever I want? Well, how about zero? You know what I mean? Like,
there's been shows I go to and they have like CDs and vinyl, and they're just like pay with name your price.
Yeah.
Well,
it's definitely a thing now.
Kind of like a haggle.
It's a lot like DIY shows. Like one of my favorite bands, I saw them in Columbus last year. And they had their CD there, and I'm like, oh, how much is it? They're like, oh, how much you want to pay? I'm like, oh, like $10. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
And like I try to, because like those are smaller bands, I want to support them. So.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel like. I feel like if you do the pay as you want instead of, like back then, everyone was either pirating stuff or buying it. If you use the pay as you want, then then it feels like the fans want to support the band.
Yeah.
Because the money's it's not going to a label. It's just going right to the band, which I think is interesting concept.
Yeah, and they built up a big enough fan base at that time where true fans would pay.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be as, I'm just going to pay $1 for this band that I don't know. If you're a real fan of the band, you'll pay.
You want to support the band.
$20, $30, whatever it is. Because if you're going to pay for a concert ticket, how much are concert tickets? Well, they're more expensive now.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was going to say it depends. Like when I saw Radiohead, it was like
probably a lot.
Like it was like $60. I sat in the upper deck.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. It gets a little bit out of their hands when you start getting into bigger venues and stuff. It's just
it's all promoters who they set the prices. It's not the band who sets the prices. That's what's nice about smaller venues is that most of the money goes to the band, which is good.
Yeah. So we'll get back to the record specifically here in a minute, but just I'll check in with Jake. Do you have any kind of familiarity with Radiohead?
No, not really. To be honest with you, I never really listened to the radio, like besides classic rock growing up. Did they have a lot of like hit records?
Well, their most famous song is "Creep."
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was on. I mean, that's way back on a record that Pat.
That's their first record, which is like nothing like any of their other records. Mm-hmm. It's Yeah, they kind of. I think they kind of detest that song. They don't play.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
They don't play it live or anything. It's very rare they play it live.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of they don't play anything from like their first album.
Yeah, that's like probably the only one I'd probably recognize. Creep, just because it's played so much.
Yeah.
But so I'm excited.
Karma Police. Right?
Yeah, Karma Police.
Yeah, they've got other hits. Yeah. I don't really know them. So. Joe.
I basically just know OK Computer.
Okay.
It's a really good album. It's got a lot of hits on it, and like he was saying, like for that time, they were very influential with a lot of the alternative bands that came out like in the 2000s and stuff. So if you like that type of music, which I did in that time, you're gonna stumble into Radiohead songs. It's just gonna on a playlist or on the radio and they're one of the most critically acclaimed artists out there. I mean, you don't hear a lot of hate, a lot of critics being negative on Radiohead. It's a lot of mostly positive reviews.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Pat, you described a little bit before the two albums, OK Computer, which a lot of people consider their best record, and then Kid A, which was a total left turn from that. So I asked you before we started the show, like, now this record you said you think is their best. Is it like one or the other? Is it a combination of both those elements?
It's hard to explain. I feel like it's so different from an OK Computer or a Kid A because it's more like, it's definitely not like Kid A. Kid A is more electronic. It's more experimental. This is more I feel like it's more grounded, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's just so, like, the lyrics and like the melodies are just so great on this album. The production is incredible. Everything sounds very like lush and full. It's really great. The songwriting, I think this is, like, songwriting wise, I think this is when they're at their best, is on this record. And I think that creatively they just do so much with this record. And every song has some sort of great bass line or some great guitar melody.
Here you go, Jake.
Yeah, some great drumming rhythms. It's just every song just has something just really incredible about it.
Nice. So the reason I'm excited is Radiohead's like uber famous band. You know, everybody kind of knows who they are at least. But I'm not really all that familiar with them. And listeners of the podcast will know that my favorite artist of all time is Warren Zevon. And I recall him at one point saying in an interview, it was like around the year 2000, he referenced that he said Radiohead is like one of his favorite groups, meaning like out of 2 or 3 of all time. And so I was like, I've got to listen to Radiohead. You know what I mean? If my favorite guy ever thinks they're the greatest. So let's, do we have that clip in the studio? What can we, okay. So I'm gonna edit it later. And, this will be humorous.
You gotta get a producer.
Yeah. So I'll do stuff like that.
Jake looked at you like, what are you talking about?
What am I meant to do? I'm not prepared.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to be. I meant to be pointing just at a studio.
That's a weird.
To produce Life Will Kill You, you chose 2 guys, Paul Q. Culdry and Sean Slade. Their best-known production credits are with groups like Radiohead, Hole, the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Not people we would think would be your first choice to produce your new record.
They were, though, when I found out they produced Radiohead. That was all the recommendation I needed. Radiohead's one of my favorite groups, which means out of 2 or 3 of all time.
So the reason he's talking about Radiohead is because this record that they're showing here, one of the guys who produced it had produced Radiohead.
Oh, probably,
so
it was Nigel Godrich.
Andrew Slade was one of them.
Nigel Godrich is like he produced most of Radiohead's albums after 1995. Or he produced everything OK Computer on.
Nigel's a very British
name. Every album since OK Computer he's produced. They only work with him as their producer, which I feel like is.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, well, I feel like that kind of adds to their whether all the records are so well received that they work with the same producer all the time. It's just,
you have a good working relationship with them, and like he knows the band's tendencies.
I've seen him live before, actually, Nigel Godrich, because he plays with Tom York from Radiohead on his solo albums, and when he tours, he plays on stage with them. It's cool.
Oh, does he play like instruments? Like
he plays like a bunch of different. He plays guitar, like whatever song. Like it depends on like the song, yeah. And then his solo stuff is all electronic.
Yeah,
pretty much. And it's cool when he plays his solo stuff live. They have this. They have a guy doing the visual effects on stage, and like in computer, he does them live. It's really cool.
All right. Should we get into this puppy, or does anybody have anything else, before we speak down forever, hold your peace?
I don't think so.
No. All right. Okay. So, well, Jake knows, since he's familiar with the studio, that my computer, like how I'm recording this, is actually kind of from the perspective of the record. So I'm going to have to move that in order to play the record. let's start with Jake. Just kind of overall thoughts on the first side before we dig in song by song.
I'm really blown away, and I'm kind of disappointed that I hadn't heard this band like earlier, because it's like right up my alley. Like Crooks, the first thing I immediately drew, right away I drew like similarities to two records we've listened to in the past. One I did with Colin was Gorillas right away. The electronic element and the weird like minor chords. Like a lot of their music is not in that, major scale like musically. A lot like really awesome like vocal range. And then also another record I drew a parallel to is what was it? It was our Queens of the Stone Age record we listened to. It's
Era Vulgaris.
Yes, I think like that was similar in that way. As far as like the singer reminds me a lot of Josh Homme.
Now, who's the singer? Radiohead.
Tom York.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a range, man. What, Joe? What do you think?
I'm just really impressed with the production throughout. Has been just really, like, you could tell they really took their time on making this album. So this album came out in 2007. The album that came out before that was what year?
2003.
Okay, so like five.
Been a long time, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell it took them some years to get everything right, to get every little. Yeah, it's very lush. Like you said, it's very lush.
Yeah,
very.
it has so much depth to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all these little sounds that come in and out.
There's so much harmony going on.
Yeah. I feel like this would be just a good album to put on if you were just like wanting to like relax, like just to chill out.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a good one.
Yeah, I feel like they showed quite a range, but it mostly had like the same feel to it throughout, except Bodysnatchers was kind of like a hard
that was my favorite song so far.
song. But other than that, it was pretty well, we'll get into it, but Nude is a beautiful song.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about vocal range, man. He's up there in that one.
And that song builds to such a great crescendo, and then it's just all the other instruments cut out, and then he hits that one high note at the end, and it's just such a... That track builds so well.
Yeah. All right, Jake, you want to do you still have the lyrics pulled up?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
We're going to start with 15 Step. This had a nice build up to it as far as the production was concerned.
Yeah, a lot of interesting sounds with this one. A lot of instruments, and I feel like they threw like the full gamut out in this with this opening track. Like, okay, this is what you're gonna get. This is what you're getting in for, right? Yeah.
Oh, Jake not announcing a bathroom break apparently.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see if Jake was reading along. As far as the lyrics, I picked up a few things here and there, but it's always we kind of talked about it before. It's difficult for me to on a first listen to take everything in as far as lyrics and the music and all that sort of stuff. It seems to be, I kind of compared it to other alt rock stuff like Silver Sun Pickups and stuff that I've heard. Like I can hear how they influenced it. And yeah, it's a similar style of songwriting, to the music, where it's sort of spacey and just kind of like getting, good imagery and stuff, but not like a straightforward.
Yeah, there's a lot of
narrative.
like we were talking about before. We're talking about stereo imaging. There's a lot of stuff going on with the pans. Like I noticed in a few songs, like there's it'll be bouncing back and forth between left and right. And, it's just a lot of good stuff in that regard.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, like Joe said, if you got to go, you got to go.
I know, it was immediate. The need was immediate. I'll tell you.
Yeah, Jake, what I would say, I mean, you had the lyrics pulled up. Were you reading along? 15 Step, anything? What do we think here?
15 steps. 15-step program? Like alcoholism?
No, that's 12 steps.
Oh, okay, then fuck me then.
He just added an extra 3.
I have nothing. No, it just seems like I mean, to state the obvious, just like a cyclical reel me out, then you cut the string. Interesting. You know what reel me out is reference to?
Like fishing.
Fishing. You reel a fish out if a lot of times you let them fight to
Tire
kind of
himself out.
to tire them out, and then you cut the string. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what do you 15 step, Pat? What do you think?
Just
I don't know. The lyric that always pops out to me is when the part where he says 15 steps, then a sheer drop.
right.
That's
Maybe
towards the
he's
end.
standing somewhere. Like
And it's
he's
you're getting
literally 15 steps.
Yeah, you're getting somewhere, and then it just ends. It's like something gets in your way. That's the way I always thought about it.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of
I think we're on the same page here. Creed.
No,
Six
no,
Feet
no.
from the Edge.
That's like a record we must do.
Yeah, that's a great song. No. It reminds me of the Bugs Bunny Wile E. Coyote bit where he keeps daring to step over the line in the sand, but then eventually he steps over the cliff and there's nothing underneath.
Yeah.
But you won't go across this line and this line.
Okay, I'm a stepping.
And this, and this, and this, and then you just.
Yeah, I didn't have any other thoughts on this one other than the way it had kind of a slow build, and toward the end there was a lot happening. Like you said, the full gamut was eventually kind of thrown at you.
It gets kind of frantic at the end almost.
Yeah. Which I like that too. Like again, I mean, I guess all artists do it more or less, but with this alt rock stuff, like with all the production and stuff, they're able to really like match, like like creating a lot of chaos, to match like the lyricism as far as like the bottom falling off from under you or whatever.
Yeah, I think the time signature in that song, he references it right here. He says the song uses a 5/4 signature. I caught it. I think as far as like a chaotic thing, like that's how they add that musically.
Yeah.
This one was the first notes I had is the key signature and the weird, and the time signatures were really interesting in this song.
Yeah. Okay. Bodysnatchers. This Bodysnatchers stood out to me on this side.
Yeah, me too.
The first word I wrote was Queens. This was the song that gave me the Queens of the Stone Age.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. It reminded me of, again, I don't have much points of reference, but King Gizzard or something. Like just from what I've heard from like Nonagon
like
Infinity.
guitar,
yeah, like distorted guitar and shit.
Yeah.
I love distortion. Like a lot of my favorite bands use distortion, like Smashing Pumpkins, Silver Sun Pickups. Like I just love that. I don't know. It's just a sound that's very.
On this song is awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
What'd you think, Jake?
This one right away, I just looked at the lines like, pale imitation with the edges sawn off, so really no character. Like, like you have no character, you're just an imitation. Or your mouth, I love this line, your mouth moves only with someone's hand up your ass.
Oh, yeah.
Like
arse. Hand up your arse.
And it's just someone who just lives their lives. They don't really come up with they're not original individuals. They're just this kind of weird collective, this paper mache of other people. And I think this song is about like living a fake life, like with no real integrity or like, I don't know.
Like a mind of your own.
Individuality. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't really reading through it the first time, but in that last verse there, has the light gone out for you because the light's gone out for me in the 21st century. Interesting. That's good writing. I like it. Pat, any thoughts on Bodysnatchers?
Yeah, going off what he said about being pale imitation stuff like that's that's one of the lines in the song. That's a theme that they used a lot in like OK Computer. It's not being yourself or being influenced. But the line that always stood out for me in this song where he says, "I'm trapped in this body and I can't get out." That line I always thought that was like a cool, like a kind of a chilling line almost. Yeah, it's just that line always with the song has stood out to me.
That's a good point because it's like he's almost expanding on it. Like not only are you like not like people don't even know how to like be themselves. It's not
Yeah,
like they're
yeah.
consciously choosing to copy off someone, but this guy doesn't even he doesn't know how to even go about building his own character. That's actually a really good line.
Yeah.
You know, there's a Jackson Browne song for a dancer where I think he talks about that. It's hard to be yourself because you're, you know, what are you except an amalgam of all the things that have influenced you and that sort of thing. And so the lyrics in that song are similar. You know, like go until the dance becomes your very own. I'd have to look at the lyrics, but yeah, similar idea in that song.
Just do the steps that you've been shown by everyone you ever know, until the dance becomes your very own. No matter how close to yours another steps have grown, in the end there is one dance you'll do alone.
All right. Anything else before we move on to Nude? Because I'm a huge fan of Nude. And I'm not just talking about the pictures.
All right, we'll move on, I guess.
This was a beautiful song, and this was we talked before the podcast. We were talking with Pat about with all your work in studio, like recording techniques and all this sort of stuff that I don't know anything about, and we got it in this song. There was a beautiful guitar that was playing in the left speaker over there.
Oh yeah, it's that it's almost like that plucked guitar. You could hear either the fingers or the pick hit the strings every time.
Yeah.
It's almost like an acoustic sound instead of just the regular guitar sound. That I think that always stood out to me, is that you can hear the pick hit the strings, even like little touches like that, and that song just make it stand out so much.
Yeah, it gives it a real a real feel, I guess. This is the one that shows his vocal range because he's very high up there, and then on the Genius lyrics, he had a little like an excerpt from an interview that Tom did, and he first said he was uncomfortable with this song because of how like feminine the voice was, but then he came to like it for that exact reason. So yeah, I thought it was beautiful. Jake, what do you think?
I was actually thinking the same thing. Like, I think a lot of times, like, as far as this is slightly off the topic, but still relevant. Like, as far as music is concerned, like, I think what part of what makes the music special isn't just like how, like, I feel like a lot of people try to hide the individual aspects of music. Like, a lot of production takes away from music. I think like having, like, this guy's talking about his voice, but like the noise of the plucking, for example, like that was really powerful in this piece. I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear the uniqueness of your particular instrument. Like maybe this instrument has fret buzz or is doing something weird. But I think at the same time, like especially in this song, like struggling to hit a high note, Charles Bradley comes to mind. You know, he definitely has an imperfect voice. I think like struggling to hit that high note or letting emotions show through or a mistake show through in music sometimes can be powerful. And I think this is like not necessarily a mistake, but I think just the what's the word I'm looking for? Not realism. It's a very raw sounding song in that way. Exactly. Yeah. And that can be really beneficial to the song.
Yeah. What did you think of this song, Joe?
I just continued great production, lush production, very beautiful.
And they had that too. It's the strings at the end. Go ahead.
It's a nice soundscape. Yeah. Not that many lyrics. I mean, you got what, chorus, verse 2, or verse 1, verse 2, and chorus. That's it. You know, it's more. I really didn't pay attention to the lyrics that much. It was more just the music.
Yeah.
That went along with it.
And that bass line in that song is just, I love it. It's just the instrumentation on it is just so fantastic.
Was that the one with the? I picked out the reverse snare, or was that another song? Yeah. Did you hear that in the beginning, Jake? It sounded like they were playing a snare backwards, a snare drum backwards.
Yeah, I think I did. It was like the very beginning of the song.
Very beginning of the song. Yeah. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Because to me it sounded like they were playing something in reverse, and then I picked it up like, oh, that's a snare going up instead of going down.
Okay, so yeah, well, what do we think lyrically here? Because there's not much going on. Interestingly, the title of the song is not in the lyrics. We've kind of talked about different instances, different lyrical, shit like that. Were you able to make anything of what he's talking about here, Jake?
I really don't have an idea. You paint this first one is interesting. You paint yourself white and fill up with noise. I want to say that's on the same kind of as the same one as the second song. You know, when you paint yourself white and you fill it up with noise, like that's not. Maybe that's a reference to like external. I don't know, external influence again.
Yeah, like is he referencing like painting yourself white, like painting yourself into a blank canvas and just like putting a whole bunch of just outer influences?
Exactly, but he
says
yourself.
like basically you're like a billboard, like you're just putting.
But he says, "But there be something missing."
Like you're missing.
Yeah, exactly. You painted yourself white. You painted all over your own.
Yeah, yourself,
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Pat?
I agree with them, and also that goes along with the chorus, or where you're putting yourself as blank canvas and always these influence you, but then it says don't get any big ideas, because it's like that kind of goes along with what you guys were saying in the verse, where it's you have all these influences, you let all these things fill you up, and then you better not get any big ideas about who you're gonna be,
exactly,
or what's gonna happen. So it's interesting.
And then how those ideas are often demonized.
Yeah.
You'll go to hell for what your dirty mind is thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like how you changed that right at the end.
It's sort of it's sort of like they don't want you to be your own individual. They want you to that's what that makes me think of. Yeah. Which is something which was a theme in the last song as well. About
like welcome to the 21st century, or
it's like they want you to conform and not be an individual, and I feel like that's been a common theme.
Yep.
So far.
Yeah, I was picking that up too.
Yeah.
All right, I misinterpreted the title of the next song. I thought it was "Weird Finishes." But then he got to the end about.
Yeah.
He got to the end about weird fishes. I'm like, oh, it's weird fishes.
What's that second word?
Arpeggi?
Arpeggi.
Okay.
Like arpeggio?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, musically, this one jumped out right away with the drums. There was Pat talked about them having like just a good rhythm section and everything, and that was apparent right away in this one. Jake,
this is track 4, right?
Correct.
Yeah, track 4. So I got I said like this is gave me kind of U2 vibes. Like probably drew heavy influence from them, like musically. But this song just seemed about like being, I don't know, like being just tempted by something, by anything, really. I'd be crazy not to follow where you lead. Your eyes turn me, they make me go, right? You're being tempted by something. But then you follow the phantoms to the edge and you fall off. Right?
Well,
and then he moves on to verse 3 and he falls off and he basically sunk, drowned, but you get eaten by the worms and the weird fishes and then somehow again he says that's how he escapes the situation. And maybe it's about like how hitting rock bottom is sometimes the only way to escape from those scenarios. To me, it's about drug abuse, to be honest. And I attribute that with my own life experience with friends and family members. Like a lot of times the only thing that gets them out of this trance they might be in is like to hit rock bottom. And that can apply to anything, not just drug use, like relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat, what do you think of this song?
I mean, this is a great song. I love it. One of my favorite things about the instrument wise is it starts out with the drums and then you bring the guitars, and every sort of verse or every couple lines they add like a new instrument, and it just kind of builds to this big almost crescendo, and it's really great. That's what I just love about the song. It's just it builds so well, and then that drum pattern and the that just repeats throughout the song. It's incredible. Yeah. So it's so tight. It's like such a tightly played drum pattern, and it's this.
I was writing that his cymbal work was like insane.
Yeah.
Like, really underrated. Like his cymbal work was disgustingly good.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the lyrics. The line that always stuck to me is that everybody leaves if they get a chance, and this is my chance. Where he talks about hitting the bottom and escape, that's his chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Building off of what Jake was saying earlier. So it's I thought the lyrics were interesting in that regard. But yeah, I love the instrumentation on this. The drumming and is fantastic, and just the way I just love the way it builds.
Yeah. So one of the other things about multiple listens to a record that I like is being able to kind of see the theme that's going on throughout from song to song, like on the record. And so like it's similar. Like we were talking, 15 step, like about getting to the edge and falling off. And this, he's got a similar kind of a reference in this song. As far as like the bottoming out and escaping at that point, it kind of reminds me of the record that we just listened to a couple weeks ago, Reunions, Jason Isbell and River. One of my favorite lyrics is the last one about the river's running to the ocean, like for the river to reach her destination is to simply cease to be. So it reminds me of that. Like he's going to only in the river and just let it take him until he's nothing. You know what I mean? That's what as you were talking about that, that's what it reminded me of.
The river is my savior, she's running to the sea, and to reach her destination is to simply cease to be. And running till you're nothing sounds a lot like being free. So I'll lay myself inside her and I'll let her carry me.
Yeah, the drums on the last two songs have been great on this side.
Sick. 4 and 5.
Yeah, All I Need, the last song on side 8. That
was the Gorillaz one for me. That was the
okay.
influence song for me.
I like the writing in this song a lot.
Yeah, I thought this was the best writing so far.
Musically, I already kind of. That's another thing about record night. Listening to a record continuously through, even though this was the last song we heard, I forget. Like, is there anything you liked about it from a musical perspective, Pat?
I like the vocals in this track. I always really liked. The end, the outro is great when they add the piano in.
Oh,
the
okay,
outro is so great. It's just it. Again, like what I love about each song on this side, I feel like every song builds to this big crescendo at the end, and it's great. Like I said, that's when they add the piano at the end, and he does he kind of like he's singing, but he's singing words, but they're not really like, and I don't know what I'm saying, but he's.
Yeah, no, well, no, it's just the kind of the range that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts lyrically, Jake, in this one?
I mean, it's another relationship song to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like just someone who's like I think the standout line was "I only stick with you, but because there's no others." Like maybe it just seems like a guy with like or someone with like low self-esteem or something. You know what I mean? Like goes why. I only stick with you because there's no others. I'm an insect trying to get out of the night. Like, he's just trying to feel secure. You know what I mean? Or he's an animal trapped in the hot car. Or the
great line, great imagery.
Yeah.
Like he's just like this dude's just like helpless. But then he says at the same time, "You're all I need." Like, no. That's not what you need to be trapped in a hot car. So it's just being trapped in a shitty situation or being trapped with a shitty person, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're an animal in a hot car, you do need that. You're in a bad spot. You need that.
You're
person.
helpless. Yeah. It's like a cry for help, basically.
Until you develop I don't know, until you develop opposable thumbs and let yourself out of the car.
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, my favorite lyric so far on this A side was "I'm a moth, just wants to share your light. I'm just an insect trying to get out of the light or trying to get out of the night."
Yeah.
I thought that was really clever writing because you've seen like a street light or something and all the insects are just going crazy at like the light just trying
Yeah.
And you could see like they're just trying to get out of the night. And then once the morning comes, they're all gone. Like they're.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with Jake. It definitely has to do with relationships, and maybe you're in a bad relationship or you don't know how to get out of the relationship. It's the only thing you know.
Yeah.
Lying in the reeds is another interesting.
Yeah, I like that one too.
His position, like he's in the middle of the picture, so to me it's like in the relationship, but he's like cast aside. You know what I mean? He's almost he's like being ignored or looked down upon. Even though he's in this like relationship with this person.
And even the title of the song, "All I Need," like you're all I need.
Mm-hmm.
But you have more needs in your life than just you got to focus on yourself. Sometimes you can't just focus on one person.
Yep.
All right. So far, so good. Let's spin the B side here. Do you have any? Do you have a preference, A side, B side on this record, Pat?
I like the B side. I think two of their best songs are on this B side.
All right, nice. All right, you ready, Jake?
Ready.
There from the neck up, I guess I'm stuck. We thought you had it even no. Exactly where do you get up? Is enough. I love you, but enough is enough. That stuff, there's no real reason. Because we separate like ripples on a blank shore.
That's all she wrote.
Yeah.
All right. I like the way the whole record came together, man. Like thematically, like I was talking about, it revealed itself as it went along. What did you think, Jake?
So lyrically, I had a bit more trouble with this side than side A. So I'm hoping that you guys can fill in some of those kind of blanks for me. But we started off with I think it was the track 6, and let's go to it here. Yeah. I couldn't make of anything for it, and to be honest with you, I cheated here like I sometimes do. I'm a genius because it's so damn insightful. And it was, it was talking about. So Faust Arp is like a combination of like two people in history, one who did a deal with the devil and another who was a sculptor. So that to me kind of stayed in line with the previous theming of the album as far as your integrity, right? Being sculpted by the devil, essentially, just like, in that sense, just as far as the title. But yeah, that's really all I had for that song, as far as notes were concerned.
This had some nice, well, a few of the songs did, but there's some nice strings on this song. Pat?
It's a quick one. Obviously, it's the shortest.
Oh yeah,
it's like by far the shortest song on this record. It's quick. One of the things, going back to something we were talking about before about the almost human factor of like the recording of this, you can hear hear his hands sliding across the neck of the guitar when he's playing that guitar, and just adds so much character to the song.
Again, watch me fall like dominoes in pretty patterns, fingers in the blackbird pie, and tingling, tingling, tingling. It's what you feel now, what you ought to, reasonable, sensible, different makeup. I guess I'm stuck.
It's interesting that they had both those elements because like there's a lot of production on this record, but it's still they still had that realness, for lack of a better term.
This was like masterfully done in that regard. Like whoever produced this knew what should be included from both kind of, what word am I looking for? Both like methods of recording. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't sloppy at all.
No,
it was amazing. It was like, again, you have that realness, but you have that tightness as well. This is like probably like top 5 records produced like I've ever heard, like easily. It's really well done.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a record we've done on the podcast that's been produced as well as this.
I can't think of one, at least on the podcast.
What was the one that Kyle brought? 2000s band
Insomnium.
No,
I'm kidding. No, Manchester Orchestra. That was well produced too, but not at this level. Yeah, did you have anything on this song in particular? This one was so fast. I pulled up the lyrics and like I didn't know. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I just scrolling. Where am I? You know?
Very lyrically dense.
Yeah, it's
for a quick song.
Yeah, it's funny. This is the fastest song, but it has almost like it's the most lyrics on any song in this.
Yeah,
like
Nude was longer but had less lyrics.
Yeah, this isn't a record that has a ton of lyrics. It's a lot of it, like a lot of instrumentals.
Yeah, it's not like a hip hop album where you're just bombarded with lyrics.
Yeah, short one, but it's a good. I like this track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Without getting into the lyrics specifically, it would just it's like Jake said at the top. It stayed on point as far as like falseness generally, like being made up of that instead of being your made up of genuine emotions or yourself or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a head full of feathers, like you're stuffed, like again a creation of something. This in particular is talking about what was it when you like stuff an animal, like a dead animal? Like I think of like you're cut off from the neck up with a head full of feathers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, dead from the neck up. Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm stuffed, right?
What's the line right after the feathers, the stuffed?
We thought you had it in you, but no. For no real reason.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something else.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe this is about like putting faith in people. Too much faith in people. Like we thought you had it in you, but no, for no real reason, right? Like they're just the same as you.
Yeah.
Susceptible to the same type of influences as you are, kind of deal.
Because there's a line in this song where it says, "I love you, but enough is enough." That's another.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's another one. It's another line in this song that I think stands out.
Like realizing someone you look up to is like gone.
Yeah.
Too far, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it reminds me on the Isbell record of "Be Afraid." We've been testing you, and you failed to see how long you can sit with the truth, or whatever. That kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that song? That was
in that song. He's kind of calling out. Like again, we don't know if it's somebody specific or like just music in general.
The songwriting,
well, like being phony, like not, just writing pop songs and not like using your platform to like actually say something really meaningful, and that sort of thing.
That's not the one about with the Dylan line, right? You stole that from Dylan.
Yeah, it's only children. All right, the next two songs on this, what Pat said to us in here is these are your two favorite songs, like on the record. You think?
Yeah, I think Reckoner is my favorite song on this record. I love it. It's just it's everything about the instrumentation in the song is just awesome.
The drums have a good groove to it.
Yeah, and like
kind of keep it going.
I think his vocals on this song are absolutely fantastic too. They're great.
Yeah, so this had we had more strings on this song.
Yeah. That's what I wrote too, more strings.
We also get the title of the record, "In Rainbows," is in the lyrics on this
background
song.
Vocals.
Yeah. Joe, you mentioned the drums like having a good groove. I love the bridge in this song because it kind of like those go away.
Yeah.
And then they come back right after. That was. Touch.
Yeah, I was waiting for them to come back, and they did. I was like, I love when you kind of anticipate an instrument coming back into a song, like you know what's going to happen. You just got to wait for it. And then it pops back in.
Yeah, Jake, what'd you think?
So, lyrically, I was actually kind of trying to figure out what this song was about, like because we call it about reckoner, right? Death. It's the only reckoner that comes for all human beings, dedicated to all human beings. Who is the reckoner dedicated to all human beings? Death, right? So in this context, like I'm trying to figure out what he's like. You are not to blame for bittersweet distractors dare not speak its name. There's a lot of different references here, like ideas, like being distracted. Death comes for everyone. Being separate, but separate in the same way rainbows are, because we separate in rainbows. Like weird. Like I get what he's saying individually in each verse, but my struggle here is I'd really like to figure out how they all come together, because there's definitely a message here, obviously.
Well, all those things are universal, right? Like death, like everybody's gonna face death. That's what I was taking from it. Like you said, separate but in the same way, or like separated but in the same way.
Yeah.
Well, Pat, this is your favorite song. What you kind of already said as far as like but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much said everything I want to say about it. I mean, I think this is just a kick-ass, awesome song, and I love it. I love I see where you guys are coming from the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah.
So I said pretty much everything I want to say. This is just a great track.
Scroll down a little bit, Jake, because there was a again, like you said, cheating, like in the that's
Oh,
I
here
was
it is.
looking
Yeah,
at that
death.
comment a little bit.
As per Videotape, which he references a video of his deeds. Distracted from really valuable events of life.
Yeah.
Add up to nothing at death. Oh, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. What's the line? Beautiful distractors or bittersweet distractors?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's similar to like the references to the devil or just
Yeah. This is one of the more lyrically interesting. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to dive into it more and just think on it more. Because as much as this is cool, like this here, like I agree with it. I think this is and I like when artists do this. I like a song that makes you go back. Like that's not a bad thing to say.
No.
What is this song about? Because it's a lot of songs. We talked about Collins, some of the better songwriters. His name escapes me, but like purposely write songs that are meant to be ambiguous or open to interpretation. Like they're purposely written that way. So I actually respect songs that are like written in this manner because it allows you to apply whatever it is that your experience is to the lyrics. And I think that's kind of what this song is going for. In some ways.
I don't know if it's exclusive to dream pop, but like it's in that realm of like where the music is, like I was talking about before, where the music is kind of spacey. The lyrics are too. They're not like, they're out there. Yeah, exactly.
They're not direct.
Exactly. Okay. House of Cards. I really like this song. And Pat, you said the same thing.
I love this song.
Yeah, Jake, did you have any thoughts off the top with this one?
What's it about? Like, okay, it's either like I see relationship again, another recurring theme, and we all know what House of Cards is, right? Like whatever. It's phony, unstable. Maybe he's just being honest about like what he wants to do with the person. Like, I don't want to be your friend. Like, let's not pretend like something meaningful, like something super meaningful or stable is going to come out of this. I just want to be your lover no matter how it ends. So that I think this song is just about like maybe being honest about what the person wants.
Pat?
Lyrically, to me, it's about, I guess, forgetting the bad parts about somebody like your relationship. So it's like forget about your house, forget about the unstable things, forget about your house of cards, and you'll forget yours too. That's what he kind of talks about, and that's why he said fall off the table and get swept under. Like you just sweep all that stuff under the rug and just kind of just try to ignore it. That's the way I always interpret this song. And even at the end where he's talking about denial, that's like to me what stands out about this song is it's just a constant theme of try to just ignore bad things about somebody or something and just being in denial about it.
Well,
and like instrumentally, this song is very like the vocals in this song I think are the best on the record. Probably my favorite on the record. Just the vocals themselves, I think, are just they're very beautiful.
Yeah,
it's a very pretty song. I always like this song.
Yeah, this was a beautiful side. Side B really like the tempo was decreased. It was really. I loved how like everything was really drawn out. And it was interesting because we talked about kind of everything coming to a crescendo in side one, whereas I feel in this side it's almost the opposite of that musically. Like you kind of really are kind of left at this weird, like you're kind of left on the edge musically. You know what I mean? A really slow, like de-escalating kind of musicality to it.
Yeah, I thought they still like layered up the songs as they went, but it didn't like build in the same way.
It wasn't like a grand outro. Like everything on side A is it's very big at the end. It layers, but it's not like this big crescendo. It leaves you. It's kind of like a I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just it leaves. It's a different feeling. It's a different like vibe from the first side.
Yeah, I like what Pat. I mean, he gets to it. What Pat was talking about. Well, I mean, it's in the lyrics, denial and all that. But he gets to it right in the beginning. Like, I just want to be your lover, no matter how it ends, no matter how it starts. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not thinking about consequences here. You know what I mean? Like, which you probably should. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, especially if you're going to go into a relationship.
yeah,
You got to think of the consequences.
love is not rational, unfortunately. So
No.
Yeah, but I like the writing was just really good. I like that line, like no matter how it ends, no matter how it starts. Another good line was your ears should be burning at the end. Like that's kind of that's denial, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Your
If
ears
you,
should
you were
be
really listening.
yeah. You should be heeding the kind of red flag or like you should be getting away from this situation, but you're not.
Oh, one interesting line in this song that I wouldn't have picked up on my own, but I saw a note about throw your keys in the bowl.
Yeah.
Like that's like a reference to swingers.
Oh, okay.
Like all the wives throw their keys in a
Oh.
bowl, and then the husbands fish them out. And then whoever's keys they get, that's who they're going home with.
Yeah, kiss your husband goodnight. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
So it sounds like fun.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right, Jigsaw something or other.
Yeah, I like this one. This one.
Jigsaw falling
Yeah.
into place.
Yeah.
I like the last two a lot.
This was just real quick. This is a kind of a similarity between this song and the last song. It's kind of another song about just letting it happen. Like I just want to be your lover. In the next song, this song's about like just being, like obviously being drunk. Like not wound up like a spring. It's the end of the day. Let this happen. Like it falls into place like a jigsaw. You know what I mean? It's another instance of kind of letting go of letting go what's going on. Whereas side A, side B kind of deal was more. Side A was more about like infatuation with or fakeness about what makes you and like the decision you make. Whereas side B, we have two songs here, which are just more about letting go and letting things happen in a way that feels natural. But other than that, I'll let you guys take over from there.
This song really hit me at the end. Like there was really good writing to me, where it's like just on the fly I was interpreting like these people, like it was some sort of drunken escapade between these two people, and like at the end, like it's kind of like they're kind of like remembering like that they did some stuff, and so that's the jigsaw falling into place, which is it's a perfect metaphor for like if you've been drinking too much, you don't remember, like pieces slowly come back to you, and then it just eventually comes into full picture. Pat, did you have anything on this song?
Not too much. Like I said, excuse me. Yeah, the lyrics are great in this. Just the whole party, not remembering what you're talking about, not remembering. You slowly put those pieces back together, and it's just it's cool lyrics. Great beat on the drums too. Again, the instrumentation on the song is just, it's so great. I love the guitar riff in it, and I love the line at the end where like he says something like, "You look back at each other not once but twice." Like it's just such a relatable. Like, what? Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
interesting. Like the message too. It's like he's kind of like the imagery in this writing is really good, which is what makes this song good. But we're talking about kind of remembering what happened that night, and I think this is almost like a reminder, like before you've had too much. Before you run away, before you're lost between the notes and the beats just goes round and round. Like if you've ever been listening to music while I've been in a position where the music is almost, it fades into the background. You know what I mean? Whereas I think if you weren't like drunken, you know what I mean? It's like when it's playing that loud.
Yeah.
That's just a weird personal reference, like how things just fade into the background. He's like encouraging you to like almost try to live in the moment despite being intoxicated, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like before you go off the rails, like pay attention to what's going on around you. Like maybe he's done that before and found that it was, pleasurable or beneficial in some way.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting drunk and having Tyler Childers lyrics just fall by the wayside, you know.
Yeah, you gotta remember to pay attention to what's going on.
Well, Joe, you said you liked this song.
Yeah, I thought this was their best song lyrically. I thought it told a good story throughout. Like you could kind of picture, like I like songs where you could like picture like the two people or one person. You could picture them like at a bar drinking, you know. Seems like they're like maybe college kids or something, and she's kind of drinking to maybe, you know, unwind, get stress, you know, like get rid of stress. Yeah, and then at the end of the night, they, like you said, they kind of do like a double take, like, and everything kind of falls together. Yeah, I've been there where you black out and then you got to ask people like, "What happened last night?"
Yeah, like, oh yeah, that's
why
right.
is my hand covered in blood? Like,
yeah,
that's it. That's a true story. But yeah, this is one of I would say this is my favorite song on side B. I would say my favorite song on side A is Bodysnatchers. So that'd be my top two.
You know what I like about his writing in general is that he's got those dream pop kind of spacey type songs that we talked about before, but then he's also, I don't know, he kind of does a little bit of both because, you know, this one's a little bit more straightforward. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I feel like they did a good job of kind of mixing both elements of songwriting.
Do you feel like maybe in previous albums that he wrote better songs, like songs that are easier to pin down?
I mean, probably like their first album or two before when they were kind of like a younger band, I would say so. But as they mature, they got more like this album. This is kind of off track, but not really. So there's a song on Kid A, and it's the title track. It's the song Kid A, and it's he wrote a bunch of lyrics that he liked, and he pulled them out of a hat, and that's how he made the lyrics for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
That song.
That's cool.
And so like that, it's like stuff like that. It's like the song. It's so cryptic. Like the lyrics just seem so cryptic,
and nothing goes together.
Yeah, literally, he wrote a bunch of it was a bunch of lines that he wrote that he liked, and he pulled them out of a hat and decided, like, okay, these are gonna be the words of the song.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were saying about Silver Sun Pickups. That's one of my favorite bands. I feel like sometimes, like in their music, they just put words and phrases that sound good together with the music, and they just build a song off of that. You know, it doesn't really have to mean anything, or it doesn't have to connect, but there's probably some deeper meaning behind it that just kind of flies over your head. But
yeah.
Well, and there's like an inherent meaning to it because I mean, like as a songwriter, like the lyrics just kind of they mean something. You know what I mean? The lyrics came to them and they wrote the song. You know,
it might be really personal. It might to them, like that they maybe we can't relate because we're not in their shoes.
Yeah.
So,
and there's some songs even that I feel like they were written like, I mean, not like that necessarily, like just pulling lyrics out of a hat, but like written to on purpose to torture people who are trying to figure out what.
Sure.
It doesn't
I mean, it's art at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and art can be confusing. You know, you look at a painting and you're just like, what is this supposed to be? But in other people's eyes, that might be the most beautiful painting that they've ever seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember, for some reason, this brings to mind a really funny interview with Darren Malakian of System of a Down, their guitarist. And he was, like, notorious for, like, angering interviewers, like, from magazines, TVs. Because he'd be like, okay, so this song, Prisons, what's it about? And, like, Darren would just look in their eyes and he'd be like, fellatio. And then, like, the other bandmates would be like, oh, like, trying to like clue them in as to what the song was about, and then like the interviewer goes back to Darren and he just repeats fellatio, like and like he goes, if you actually listen to what Darren says, like he's trying to clue you in as to what is going on, but like the whole point is like it's up to your interpretation. Again, purposely it's up to your interpretation. And every time a song that was written like that and System of a Down would come up, he would just give these crazy responses to interviewers asking him what the song was about. And I encourage you to look it up. Just look up like Darren Malakian makes interviewer mad and you'll see what I mean, but it's really funny.
Is that part of the reason why this is a double album, or did you just come out with so much material that it had to be split up?
Fellatio.
That's good stuff. What did you guys do during your downtime? Were you just writing all the time, or are there any other projects you're
I
on?
walk my dog, fellatio.
We do kind of need you to answer the questions in order to put the interview together. Or, I mean, we could just play the one from 3 years ago where you kind of did the same thing. It's up to you.
Fellatio?
All right. I'm curious to get to talk about Videotape, the closing track. This was an interesting way to finish it. You know, one thing I'll say, this song kind of had, there was a few songs on this record that I thought were nice. I thought they were like beautiful songs, but like they maintained like a dark element. I'm sure that's like a chord thing.
Yeah.
You know, like playing minor chord, major, you know, whatever. But like that's they're not like, this song was nice, but it had a kind of a dark like undertone to it. I felt like. Jake.
Yeah. This one was, I don't know. He's just maybe it's like maybe like looking back on your life, like when he's at the pearly gates, like you look back on your life and you, I mean, that's what you do, right? How's the oh God, this word is escaping me. It's making me so mad. How's the legend go? You make it up to the pearly gates and you go to the guy who judges you and you look over everything you've done and you have to answer for everything you've done, right? I think that this song is just painting a picture of that scenario. But then he says, this is one for the good days. So, I don't know. Maybe just, if you say good days, maybe he's saying like, if you're in a spot in your life where you're focused on the wrong that you've done, because it's talking about judgment here, just remember to include the good things you've done, maybe. Like this one's for the good days.
Yeah, what'd you think, Pat?
What I always interpret this song as is, this is you looking back on your life when, you know, he says he's at the pearly gates, but that's why I said this is one for the good days. You look on the good parts of your life at the end. And that's why I always interpreted it as.
Yeah, I don't know, like, well, the Videotape, I don't know, kind of made me think of like an edited, like, here's the good, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of painted it up.
That's a good point.
Nicely. I don't know. Joe?
Yeah, I wonder how they made that sound of the.
Oh, dude, that was so cool. Yeah, I forgot to talk about that. Yeah,
because he says, the print's kind of small. Wait, I think I wrote it down. Like you're the center. Like you are my center when I spin away. Mm-hmm. So like there's like an access point, but it continues on the access point, and then that's when you start to hear that spinning of that video, whatever that sound was supposed to be, probably, you know, like a you know, at the end of a video, like I would just you know, if you keep the videotape player going, it's going to continue to spin, but the tape is all gone, and because it's at the end of his life. So the tape is run out, but the tape is still spinning.
Yeah, that sound is incredible, because we were talking about before the podcast about how they can make things sound far away, and like they literally made it sound like it was a 3-dimensional circle, and that's really incredible. That it sounds just absolutely fantastic. It's the instrumentation is just so haunting. It's a very haunting song almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is appropriate for the subject matter of the song, right? Because he's talking about like a ghostly, like, perspective of his afterlife at the pearly gate. So it's really well done.
That's what I was saying at the top. Like it was a nice song. It's got the piano and everything. It's nice, but it has this dark undertone. Mm-hmm. And the like that. It's amazing, just through production, to make something sound distant, where it literally sounds like it's not part of the record, and it's like a noise, like in another room or something. Like, what the fuck is that?
Like two separate things. Like you got the song playing, and then you got this tape player going in the background. Yeah, very cool song to end. Very creative.
On a strange side note, Pat, I know you were talking about like live music. Did you hear about that like reverb amplifier that they use to like put on the back of acoustic instruments in a live setting to like give reverb and stuff? So like different sound effects that would traditionally be applied to an instrument like electronically actually come out of the sound hole of like an acoustic guitar.
That's interesting. I've never seen, none of the bands I've worked with have ever used that, but that sounds interesting.
Well, the thing is, it'd have to be like live, so it'd be, like it'd be used for a live setting. But the only reason I mention that is because I just watched a review of like some product. I don't remember what it's called, but it literally like attaches like magnetically to the back of your guitar and puts reverb through the sound hole, like via vibration. So, and the only reason I say that is because like it's capable of making things sound like they're off the soundstage.
Yeah.
So that right away, like it's apparently like really cool. Like they're all just like, "What the fuck?" Like he's playing guitar right in front of me, but I'm hearing this like behind me and around me. So it's an interesting parallel.
Yeah, Pat, you said before that like you really like live music. You go to a lot of concerts.
Yeah.
Do you have like more of an appreciation than you did before, like working in studios and learning about how to record music and stuff, or like?
Yeah, I definitely have. It changes. It sort of changes the way like I listen to records because I try to pick up on more things.
Now you're on the inside, so you.
Yeah, but like, I try to notice more things, just on the production side, and it definitely makes me appreciate it so much more because like the recording process is amazing, especially in an album like this, which is just so tightly produced and so tightly recorded. And it's just
so layered too. Like that's got to be so much work.
Yeah, the production in this album just makes it so much better. And even without great production, I think this would have been a great album. But just that production just puts it over the top. And it's just like their producer has worked with all their albums since 1997, Nigel Godrich, and he's like an absolutely incredible producer.
I wonder how long this took to make. Like how long would when they started recording to when they actually released the album?
Well, the genius notes, they said they were even rehearsing the songs for years and years. Like some of these songs were songs that were recorded during older albums.
So Videotape
to perfect
that's the Videotape. The version of Videotape that's on the record is different from the original version of Videotape. They originally played it at Bonnaroo, which is that festival in Kentucky, in 2006, maybe 2005. And it was a completely different version of the song. It was very guitar and drum oriented. Had a lot more instruments in it. And you can listen. There's a really good version of it on YouTube. They just upload that full concert to YouTube.
Nice.
And it's some of these songs have gone through different versions, and they've done that in a couple other of their releases. I know their latest one, Moonshaped Pool, there was a few songs on that there's one that they played first back in like 2001 and it came out in like 2016.
Wow.
Something like that. Those years probably aren't exactly right.
But it took
but like they write songs and they'll play them live and then sometimes they never release them or they release them years later on a record. It's just interesting. And these songs just go through so many different changes.
Now you said you've seen them live, Radiohead live?
Yes.
Do they play like a lot of bands do? Like when they play live music, they play the songs different from on the album because they're touring with it. They got to play the song every night.
Yeah.
So they they change it up.
Yeah.
Do they do that with?
Some songs yes, and some songs no. There are a few songs like Moonshaped Pool, which is their latest album. I saw them on the Moonshaped Pool tour. There are a lot of strings, and they didn't have the strings play with them live, so they replaced it with more guitars, which is a different spin on the songs, which is kind of cool. One particular one where Johnny Greenwood, their guitar player, has his it's like a semi-hollow guitar, and he has like a cello bow.
Yeah,
he plays it like a cello. It's really interesting. But they're one of those bands. They play like a completely different set every night, so you never know what song you're gonna
get.
So I saw them in Columbus in 2017, maybe it was 2018, and they played the song "Wolf of the Doors." The first time they played the song live since like 2005, and it's just like that's the cool thing about seeing them is you never know what song you're gonna hear, and they play songs from like all over their catalog,
except Creep.
They occasionally do play. They like usually like once or twice on tour they'll play it.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, because I remember hearing interviews where he said he hated playing that song.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't want to be.
They don't want to be known by like that one.
The
song.
Creep band, like they don't want to be known as
because
that.
like this is like you listen to it on this record, it's so much different than
dude, so much different. Even from OK Computer, it's different.
That's like they're always changing it up and the the album that came out after this is interesting. It's more
Yeah, I feel like OK Computer is more of
guitar is like guitar
Like
rock.
a rock.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I think it's a great album.
It's a great album, yeah. But then the album after this is more. It's very like percussion based. They had 2 drummers playing on it, and they said they edited it like a movie. They had a bunch of different parts, and it was a lot of editing. It was interesting.
Huh.
It was an interesting way to make an album. And so they're always doing different things in different concepts.
I never knew. Like we were talking earlier, you said like in older music, guitar solo is like added in.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they do it now. It's usually overdubbed.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I always thought they play the song through and then they just have to time it up right. But I guess with the editing, you have to time it up right also.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier now, but back then tape, when you recorded on tape, it was a lot harder to get that timing perfectly right if you're only done with a guitar solo.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I never
imagine on this record having with all the layers and stuff. It's
meticulously have to go through every single one.
That's what
time it up everything perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so meticulously produced, but also so raw and human sounding. It's just so. Yeah. Sometimes they produce sometimes it's so overproduced. It sounds like a computer made it.
It's a good mixture with his voice because his voice is so human sounding.
Yeah.
Like you could feel a lot of his passion and his pain.
Yeah.
And then the production behind it is so lush and beautiful, and yeah, you get both like both worlds, I guess.
Yeah. I think this is a fantastic record.
Yeah, production wise,
for sure. I'm gonna have
definitely the best production.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you mentioned the same artist for all their stuff. So let's see. I just looked at it.
Stanley Donwood is the.
Yeah. Stanley Donwood, and then but it credits somebody else. And Dr. Chalk.
That's Tom York. That's his.
Oh, really?
That's his pseudonym. Yeah.
That's funny.
Like when he checks into a hotel, he's Dr.
Yeah.
Chalk.
Yeah, I've seen Tom York in concert twice for his solo shows.
How was that?
His solo shows are crazy. So like they have these big video screens and he plays in smaller venues. And his solo stuff is all like electronic music.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nigel Godrich, the producer of this record, plays with him. It's Tom York and Nigel Godrich. And it's a great show. He's great. And he's one of my favorite songwriters.
Is he like your favorite frontman of like a band? Would you think?
I'm not sure about that. He's definitely one of my favorites.
I think mine probably like I don't know, probably Zach De La Rocca.
From Radiohead.
Either him or Eddie Vedder.
When am I getting my fix?
When you come here, you got to get out of your quarantine, come here, and then I'll play Rage Against the Machine. Deal.
Okay. But hold on. But okay, deal.
Where Rage Against the Machine album?
The third one. So we've played the first two. We played Rage Against the Machine. We played Evil Empire.
What's your favorite?
The first one.
The first one. Oh yeah, first one. We're gonna go.
But see, Jake likes Battle of Los Angeles.
Battle of Los Angeles is good.
It's good.
I don't like Battle of Los Angeles the best. I like Evil Empire the best.
I feel like you would, because it's the most funky. It's the most funky out of the three.
I think Battle of Los Angeles gives you the best mix of what Rage Against the Machine has to offer. That's like their quintessential album, not necessarily their best album. Like if I was introducing someone to Rage Against the Machine, I'd give them Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I would.
Would you? I would give them the first.
But like, I mean, the first one, I could talk all day about how great that first. I mean, that
what I've found about the well, not necessarily the entire first record, but Killing in the Name. I can never not listen to that song. I can never listen to that song without like making noises, like that fucking riff is so. I don't know how it's so badass. Like actually I'm like, how is this so?
And, like we're talking that that's a Sound City album, and it's so rough, and the production is just so great on that.
Great drums, great bass, great guitar, unique guitar.
Yeah,
stuff that no one does.
Obviously, Tom Morello's. one of the best.
And then the vocals are so just angry. Just
Yeah.
angry.
They hit this impossible combination that makes him so good, where it's like the guitar is so fucking good, but then his angry vocal with it is
It's
just
so
like
aggressive. And
Yeah, I was watching a video on how all these, because that was kind of the birth of like, what would you call it, like rap metal or
new metal.
new metal?
I like Rage Against the Machine isn't new metal, but
No,
like,
they're not.
Those
But
new
they
metal bands
influenced-
were because of Rage Against the Machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No new metal band has ever had a date, like they've tried to have a debut album like that, but it's nothing ever
Yeah, nobody's ever come close.
I think too is because like, as far as that's concerned, like no new metal like artist actually had like, in my opinion, like an actual MC. Like like truly, I think there's only ever been one hip hop. Like besides maybe Linkin Park came close. Is the only other band. But what's his name? Mike Shinoda. Like he's an MC, and they were blowout popular too.
Yeah.
And I think that's because they were like Rage and Linkin Park were like the only two bands that had like a legitimate MC as a part of their band. Like okay, what's his face from what the band, you know, the band I'm thinking of, Hot Dog Flavor Water, Limp Bizkit.
Fred Durst.
It was like really gimmicky.
Greatest
like,
of all time, Fred Durst.
The WWF's favorite band.
Yeah.
Keep rolling.
I do like a lot of Limp Bizkit songs. Like, don't get me wrong, but like they just didn't do it. They just didn't have that raw, authentic like hip hop.
And the message wasn't like honest like Rage was. Like Rage had a clear message that they were trying to give you, and then these other new metal bands come out and it's more fun, and I don't know, it's different. It was just different.
You know, who's the guy from Limp Bizkit? Mike Shinoda?
No, Fred Durst is from Limp Bizkit.
That from Linkin Park.
Linkin Park is from
Linkin Park. Okay. Well, you said that guy's name. I didn't know his name, but then you said it, and I was reminded of the Fort Minor song, where a feature of rap to like say the name of who, like call everybody out.
Yeah.
M. Shinoda. You know, I got
I like Linkin Park a lot. They were actually one of my first favorite like bands.
Yeah, same. I mean, that was.
Oh yeah, you talked about it earlier.
I mean, that was growing up in that era. Linkin Park.
I remember first time I heard Linkin Park, I was Laser Tag. It was this place in either like Parma or Parma Heights, and it was like set up like an Egyptian like kind of thing.
I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking
about. And they were probably playing that album just on a thing,
CD player.
And I remember like going home and like listening to more like Linkin Park, like really influential. I remember some kid we were doing the laser tag. He was having an asthma attack, and I just kept on racking up points on this kid. He was like trying to breathe. He was like sitting in a corner. He's like, stop it. And then first place, like
Joe. Shame on you.
He was fine. They were probably the smoke.
Yeah.
I don't know if that place is still there anymore. I don't think it is.
There used to be that one in Fairview that.
Yeah.
That's been closed for a long time.
Yeah. I used to go to that one too.
All right, well, we keep going, but let's just wrap up Radiohead real quick. So they still make music like today, right?
Yeah, their last album came out in 2016. It was that A Moon-Shaped Pool. They just stopped. They toured for a while for that record, and then they just stopped touring. They were doing a lot of solo stuff. So like Tom York just released another album last year called Anima. It was great record. And then Ed O'Brien, the one guitar player from Radiohead, just released a solo album this year, actually last month, which is pretty good. I liked it.
Nice.
And I mean, I'm sure they'll come out. It's usually a long time in between albums for them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you could tell all the work they put in. So.
Yeah. So
that's similar to like Tool and other, like particularly if they have side projects and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of my favorite records are side projects. Like some of my like the Serge Tankian and Tom Morello records. I really appreciate when just diving into the solo projects of each individual member of the band. Not only because sometimes their shit is just like super incredible, but it's interesting to hear how each individual person like you kind of can dissect how they all combined to make up a band when you kind of listen to them individually.
Yeah, you could pick up like the influences, like
Yeah.
on
Like System of a Down is the big one. Like I know Scars on Broadway, which is Darren Malakian's band, and Serge Tankian solo stuff, and like it's so weird. Like you think you know a band, and then you hear two people like individual, and you're like, okay, like I see how this came together, and you could see how like who wrote what in each song. It's just a really cool thing to do. I encourage people to try to like explore music in that way.
Yeah. Well, this Radiohead record, I was, I'm a fan. I'm enough of a fan of it to, I just want to go back and listen to OK Computer and Kid A.
Yeah.
Especially because those were subsequent records. Like I think it'd be interesting to hear those two next to one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, like their progression, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you'll have to come on again. So what do you think you would do? There were some other records you were considering. What do you think you'd go with?
Yeah, we were talking about a couple that I had in mind. One of them was Opus Eponymous by Ghost, which is a great metal album from 2010.
Do you know Ghost, Jake?
I don't know Ghost, but if he just said the word metal, so I'm on board.
Yeah, they're from Sweden. They're awesome. Another one I was considering was this album by this band called Godspeed You Black Emperor. And they're each side of the record is one song. The album's like an hour and a half long. It's a double LP, and there's no vocals in it, or there's little vocals in it. It's almost all instrumentals, and it's an interesting album. But yeah, there's another one I can't remember. But
well, we can do the one with no vocal. We could do it and just have Jake. You could just freestyle over it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll be ready. I got some lyrics.
I think if I went out again, I'd probably pick that Ghost.
That sounds cool.
I mean that's probably my favorite metal album of like the 2010s. Was that first Ghost album?
Fair.
Have you heard of a band called Gojira?
Yeah, I know Gojira.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of buying a Gojira album for one of the next podcast episodes. So that's in our future too, and we'd be happy to have you try again.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. I definitely love to be on it.
Jake makes me so fucking mad!